What is going on, guys? Welcome to the DaVinci Resolve Podcast. Guys, it's getting to the end of 2024 here, trying to get out another podcast for you. And next year, I'm hoping to be a little more on top of this podcasting because, one, it's fun. Two, I can answer your questions a little more in detail than I can in a comment. And maybe we might even get some guests on if I can muster up the courage to ask a few people. So today we're going to be walking through some more questions that you guys have on different videos of mine here in DaVinci Resolve. But let's just jump right into all the good stuff, right? So recently we got an update, DaVinci Resolve 19, but furthermore, 19.1 and 19.1.1. So we've got a bunch of updates in there. There's so much good stuff. I've got videos going through a lot of it, and our other creator friends out there have a ton of videos on all the new features and everything as well. So if you haven't upgraded yet, I would recommend back up your database, back up anything else you might need just in case. I mean, usually there's no problems, but you never know. So I would go ahead, back everything up, and then go ahead and install the new version. Now, one question I do get a lot is, do I need to uninstall the old version of Resolve? Or if you're going from the free version to Studio, do I need to uninstall the existing version of Resolve on my computer before I install the new version or the updated version or Studio? And the answer to that is no. I've never uninstalled a program or a DaVinci Resolve, version, I guess, a DaVinci Resolve version before I installed a new one. Now, generally, I am going to back up my database because I just want to be safe, safe rather than sorry in case something goes wrong. But actually, nothing's ever gone wrong for me. I'm on a Mac, but nothing's gone wrong. I just install the new version and it overwrites the old version and is good to go. And it's always kept all my, power bins and anything else that I have set as far as settings and stuff. It keeps all that right in Resolve. So no need to uninstall anything before installing the new version. So keep that in mind, but back up your stuff. Go ahead, download the new version, install it, and you'll get all these awesome new features. So let's get into the first question here. I just have a whole bunch of kind of randoms, and we're going to just run through them here. So this question here is on a video about fast tracks in DaVinci Resolve 19, a quality of life tip video that I got. So it says, Jason, an excellent feature to share with all of us. Do you have any reservations about upgrading from version 18 to 19 with all the projects completed and no dependence on version 18? Are there any technical concerns you may have that are drawbacks, or should I feel comfortable downloading 19? I love the new features. I have Studio, but was concerned with the beta version. Thanks for all you do. So, like we just talked about, you don't need to uninstall anything to install the updated version. And I see no reason not to upgrade to DaVinci Resolve 19. I mean, I have found everything's pretty stable, and if there's any issues, they do fix it pretty quickly. But you shouldn't have any problems going from 18 to 19. Now, that said, if you're in the middle of a project, maybe you want to just wait a little bit and finish up that project before upgrading, just in case. That's probably a good idea, depending on how big the project is. But I wouldn't have any concern about upgrading to 19. It's solid. I mean, I've had no issues. There's been a few little issues here and there for people, but I think with the latest 19.1.1, I think they fixed all those issues, at least anything that I saw. And again, there's usually more issues on a PC than on a Mac, so you should go buy a Mac. All right, no, I get it. People love their PCs, right? And I used to be a PC guy too. But it seems like if there are any issues, it's more on the PC side than on the Mac side. So that's just kind of the vibe I get from, comments that come in on my channel here. So I don't know why that is. I think it just, for whatever reason, runs a little better on a Mac. Let's see. Next question here. Hi, Jason. I'm unable to open the preset library. For some reason, it's grayed out. How can I enable it? So the preset library, when you're in Fairlight, I'm assuming, it should open up. Now, it should open up, and even if you don't have any presets that you created, there are some presets now in Resolve 19 that are kind of built in there as far as some EQ stuff and things like that. So if it's grayed out, something's up with that. Maybe you have something else selected, or usually there's a reason you can't select something in the menu. Maybe you have another command active, or I don't know, try restarting. Sometimes, I think it's just a little, I don't know. I'm going to say you selected on the wrong thing or something. But usually, even if you've got Studio, you have the free version, but it's a Studio feature, you're still going to be able to, put it on there or access it or try it In the free version, it's just usually going to have a watermark or, give you some kind of message or something like that. So it should work. So I don't know. All right, here's another comment here. Let's see. Hey, Jason, I've used many of your videos to help me learn the software. I'm an amateur videographer that shoots videos of local bands. I know most of your tutorials are designed to help vloggers, but I was wondering if you could potentially do more for editing music video content. Thanks for all you do. All right, so music videos. Now, I did have a big series that I did where we worked with some music. We edited music. We created the song. We mixed it. We edited it. We did all that kind of stuff with a multi-track recording that I did. I created a multi-track recording. We brought in Resolve. We organized. We did all that fun stuff. We even got to use some of the cool tools from Blackmagic Design to try it out, like their big Fairlight panel and stuff like that. So it's 100% possible. If you want to mix everything in Resolve, you can do that. You can use all of your audio plugins that you would typically use in any other DAW or audio program. I've got tons of Waves plugins that work really well. So you can load all those up. Now, if you're making a music video, I almost feel like your song and your music is already going to be, like mixed, mastered, all that stuff. Maybe it's already done. And now you've filmed the band, right? And now you're just laying the song, the images on top of the song, right? So the way that kind of works, at least in my mind, how I would do that. And I did ask them, like, what would you want to see, when it comes to working with music? And they said basically that any of the challenging parts of video editing, like some of the background noises, color correction, EQ options, all that kind of stuff. So when you're doing the music video, a couple things, just kind of high level stuff that I'm thinking is you're getting your footage, but you're not actually using the audio that you're recording at the time you're recording it. Now you need the band singing their song or whatever, but you're going to have a fully mastered, perfect track that you're going to lay underneath that. And that's going to be your audio for the video, at least in my opinion, right? You're not going to use what they're doing live because you're just not going to pick it up well, right? If they have a recording, that's what you want to use. And the way I would do it is, you film multiple shots, have them running through their song or their set or whatever. You do it a bunch of times. And, I would then kind of try and line up, the different parts of the song with the shots that you got and make sure you've got the whole song covered from multiple angles. So that's kind of how I would do that. If you're just talking about, oh, hey, I'm just at the local pub and I'm recording the band and I want to throw together a video. Okay, that's a little bit different. Then you're going to use, what you get and kind of just take it from there. But I guess it kind of depends on what you're wanting to do. But I don't know, music videos is fun. It's something you could totally do in Resolve, from the mixing of the audio all the way, or the music and the songs all the way up to, your whole video yourself. So maybe those videos that I've already got will help you out a little bit. And if not, let me know. I'm always happy to make videos about all kinds of audio stuff. All right, next we have a question on a video I made called Save Hours in DaVinci Resolve 19 with these 11 automatic features. It says, do you trust the audio leveler for serious projects, or can it potentially cause unwanted gain? Could it turn your background music up too loud, then suddenly drop the levels again? I fear by pressing that you'll need to listen to your whole mix through to make sure it didn't mess anything up. And I would kind of agree with that, right? If I got a serious project, I'm probably not using the dialogue leveler. I'm going to go through, I'm going to manually listen to everything, adjust my levels, and set things where I want them so they stay there and I don't have to worry about, like you said, anything happening in the background there. Sometimes some of those features, they may not kick in right away, or something might get messed up in the render, and I would definitely listen to it all and make sure that nothing got out of whack, if you're using something like dialogue leveler. That said, I've had good experience with it. I know Mr. Alex Tech uses it all the time on all his videos. It should work just fine. You shouldn't have any problems. But if it's a serious project, I'm not going to use the dialogue leveler. For me, I'm going to just set everything manually exactly where I want them to be. So hopefully that answers that question. Next up on audio updates in DaVinci Resolve 19.1. Please make a Fairlight tutorial on how to phase match different mics simply, like the way we do it in Pro Tools using Auto Align or any other way to do it in Fairlight. I'm requesting this for the third time. So I'm going to have to look into that because I don't know how to do that. I'm going to have to look it up and see how you do it in something like Pro Tools. I just had never came across an experience where I needed to do that, but I know that could be a problem when the mics are out of phase or whatever. So that's something I'll look into, and I'll get back to you on that. So you may have to ask for a fourth time or a fifth time because sometimes I don't listen so well. But I'm going to try and get to that for you. Next up on the video, see what you're missing. Free versus studio track level audio effects. And the comment here was, why not using two computers, one with studio and one with free? So if you're using two computers and you have studio, you actually get two licenses for studio. So you don't need to use the free version. You can do, use studio on both computers. And I'm not sure if maybe they just were saying, in my case in particular, because I make tutorials for you guys, have one computer that's got studio with the works on it, and then have one computer that's a little more basic that just has the free version. So that way I can just show you guys what the free version looks like and work in the free version. Because obviously I've got studio, so I'm not, swapping back and forth between the free version and studio. I'll just usually mention, okay, this is only in studio, this isn't a free version or whatever. So, they got a point there, just costs some money. That's all. Money, setup, but it's a good point. And maybe one day I'll think about doing that. Next, a comment on how to keyframe audio in DaVinci Resolve 18. It's the same in 18, 17, 19, whatever. It doesn't matter. Keyframing audio is the same. Is it possible to keyframe effects like the low-pass filter and EQ effects? Yeah, you can keyframe any audio parameter that you can dream of, right? Whether it's part of an effect, part of the EQ, part of the dynamics, a plugin, whatever it is, you can keyframe every single part of your audio. Now, when it comes to audio, in Fairlight, it's not actually called keyframing. They call it automation. And all automation is essentially keyframing, but it's just making changes over time. So you have to use the automation tools to be able to keyframe, I'm doing air quotes here, keyframe, those different effects and stuff. So I'm going to turn off my phone here because we're getting some messages. So if you want to do that, you got to use automation. I have a video that has a really great example in there of how automation works and how we can use it to change the EQ and pan and do all kinds of other stuff. So you want to check that out. Just head on over to YouTube and search automation Jason Yadlovski, and it should pop up. It's me. You'll see a picture of me. The thumbnail's me in my van, and I run through a cool little example there for you. So keyframing in audio is called automation, and that's what you want to look for. Next question on a video called 5 Tips in DaVinci Resolve 18 You Should Know. When using remote grades for color grading, I noticed that all my other clips on the timeline go flat again as if they're still in log format, ungraded. It's not until I press and return to use local grades that my colors return again. Any idea why? Yeah, so if you're using the remote grades when it comes to color grading, that's going to allow you to basically make changes on one clip from a camera, and all the other clips from that camera are going to have the exact same changes. So really, you're just doing it once, and it gets applied to all of the clips from that particular camera recording, right? So obviously, if you have 3 different recordings from, say, this camera I'm using right now, each one of those 3 different recordings, would be separate. It's not like, once for the camera, it's once for the recorded clip. That you would make the change in your color grade, and it would get applied to all those other cuts of that particular clip. So what seems like it's happening here is that you've got it on local grades. You go ahead and you make your color grade changes, and then you change it to remote grades, and it essentially shuts off the local grades. So you can only use either, from the way I understand it, and again, I'm not a color grading expert, but the way I use it is you either do remote grades where everything is a remote grade, all the clips in your timelines are remote grades, or you use the local grades and color grade every individual clip. Now you can copy and paste it around and all that. But yeah, so when you switch from local grades to remote grades, it's not showing what you have on your local grades. So that's why your video looks like it's going back into log format. So one thing to keep in mind there, local grades versus remote grades. You got to kind of think about how you want to do your project and kind of just pick away and go with it. Next up, question on mastering audio in DaVinci Resolve 19. Yes, every project needs it. That's true. It says, I bought your audio course and I also got the EQ presets. I saw that you lift some of the channels, and I think they mean frequencies. Would love an explanation about that. So when it comes to EQ, right, I've got a whole crash course on. I think I'm going to actually make a new one soon here too, but the concepts are all the same. When it comes to EQ, what I like to use EQ for is primarily removing things that don't sound good. So in general, you want to make cuts in your EQ. So grab a frequency and drop it down. Make cuts at problem areas, right? We're trying to use the EQ to take care of problems. Now, that's generally the first thing I'm going to do, make cuts to take care of problems. But then there's some times where I do want to boost up certain parts of the EQ. Now, why might I want to boost something when it comes to EQ? Well, if I've got a microphone that maybe is a little, unclear, I want to add some clarity to it, I could grab a point on the EQ that is in the, say 4 to 8K range and boost that up a little bit. And that's going to introduce some more clarity to my dialogue. At the same regard, you might want a little more bass in your video, right? Maybe you have a music track or I don't know, whatever. You want more bass in it. So in that case, maybe I'm going to grab, a point, make a nice little bell curve somewhere in that, 150 to 300 hertz range, maybe 200, 250, somewhere around there. I'm going to make a little boost and add in a little extra bass. So when you boost your EQ, that's going to increase or add in that frequency range. And then when you drop your points in the EQ or cut, it's going to remove sounds in those frequencies. So in general, I like to say it like this. You want to make cuts before you ever boost anything, right? We need to get rid of the things that don't sound good before we go ahead and boost anything. And most of the time, making cuts is going to take care of your problems. So, well, for the most part, all right, there's all kinds of problems, right? Let's be honest. But for the most part, if you've got, a particular frequency that's really kind of harsh on the ear, the EQ is going to do a good job of taking care of that and removing it. But there are times when you can boost your EQ. But for the most part, I generally make cuts. And if you do boost, you probably don't want to boost too much. Just a little bit ought to do it. Next up, a question on a video I did called Remove Reverb from Dialogue in DaVinci Resolve. He says, hey, Jason, is there any feature in Resolve that does DeReverb? And I'm going to have to say no. The voice isolation does great with background noise, but it does not do a great job with reverb. So there's no built-in tools that I found that really kind of take care of the reverb. The plugin that I used in this video that was mentioned here where the comment was left was a Waves DeReverb plugin. So I guess the way plugins have to handle reverb versus background noise is a little bit different, right? They need to remove those reverberations and stuff. However it works on the back end, I don't know about that stuff. But under the hood there, it's doing something different to analyze the audio and remove the reverb. So Waves has a good one. I'm sure there's plenty of other ones out there too, but you'd have to go third-party plugin if you want something that's going to do a decent job of removing reverb. Now, maybe down the road, Blackmagic will add in a plugin that does reverb. I wouldn't say no, they're not gonna, because they keep adding stuff that people want. So I think that would be a great plugin for them to add in, and just give people the option to remove the reverb in addition to the background noise. Voice isolation is so good. Maybe you could just tweak it a little bit and then have a good DeReverb plugin. So I don't know. How about it, Blackmagic? Can we get that? Next on a video called How to Backup and Restore Your DaVinci Resolve 18 Database or Project Library. Used to be called database, now it's project library. Same, tomato, you know what I mean? All right, the question is, my Resolve backup has taken about 60 gigs in my MacBook internal storage. Can I delete that as my live save is already on? So you have backup files. I think if you got through a project, you probably don't need to keep the backup files, right? If you finish the project. I know for me, every once in a while, I'll clear out all my cache files. Even the backups, like after I've done the project, most of the time I don't need it. You can also just set your settings to not keep as many backups, right? I forget if it's in preferences or project settings off the top of my head. I think it's preferences. But you can set it to not save as many backups if you want. But you could delete the backups. If you don't think you need them, or maybe you just want to move them to another hard drive. But 60 gigs, that's kind of clogging up a MacBook there. So you might want to take care of some of it, But live save is not doing the same thing as backups, right? Live save is just saving it incrementally every change you make, right? Every time you do something, it's going to save it. So it's just constantly saving your one file, right? Backing it up is just taking that project file at a point in time and saving it, off to the side in wherever you tell it to save it. And then it'll sit there. So live save is a little different than backing up. But if you back up your database, maybe once a month or something, then you don't necessarily need the individual project backups. But I do keep it all turned on and backing everything up just in case, because you never know. You never know when something's going to happen. So, yeah, it's up to you what you want to do with those backups there. Next up, question on a video, 10 amazing reasons to buy DaVinci Resolve Studio. P.S. It's also on sale. At the time of this recording, I think it's still on sale for $235 USD. And it is, what's today, December 16th, 2024, coming up on the Christmas day here and everything. So his question is, great video. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. Could you tell me what model your headphone is? So the headphones I'm currently using that I most often are the Beyerdynamic DT770 Pros, and they are the 80 ohm version. They do make different ohm versions. I think they have a 35 ohm, which is great if you're just plugging like straight into a laptop or something like that. They have the 80 and then the 250 ohm versions. Now for the 80 and the 250, you're better off if you plug it into an audio interface, which is what I do. Plug it into the Evo 4. So that's that. I once tried a Beyerdynamic with my MacBook Pro and it had very little volume. They told me this is because of the ohms, and that's 100% true. So if you plug in a 250 ohms set of headphones into your laptop, it's going to sound too quiet, right? The 250 ohms headphones needs more power to drive those speakers, so that way, they function and sound the way they're supposed to, right? If you're plugging directly in the laptop, you need a low ohms version of headphones, like the 35s. I think it's 35s. I don't know. I got the 80s because it was kind of in the middle. Like I could plug it into a laptop. Might be a little quiet, but I could plug it in a laptop. But if I also plug it into my audio interface, it's going to get plenty of juice. So you probably had the 250 ohms version. And then he says, secondly, do you have a tutorial, or could you tell me if it's possible to make a preset from the delivery page so I can export audio stems? So yeah, you could, set up multiple, buses and stuff and create however you want. You could create renderings of just specific audio tracks, or, send them all out at the same time. You could definitely do it. I'd have to poke in there a little bit and just kind of get the settings, but that's totally possible. Yeah, you could do stems if you wanted to from the deliver page. Next up, a question on a video audio updates in DaVinci Resolve 19.1 from Vegan. Thank you for the update, Jason. A question out of topic, maybe. Do you always shoot your video with constant exposure? For example, 25 frames per second at 1/50, 50 frames per second at 1/60, and so on? Or is it not always necessary to follow this rule? Thanks. So in general, yes, that's correct. I think they call it the 180 rule. I think it's what it's called. So if I'm filming at 24 frames per second, or my timeline is going to be 24 frames per second, my camera set at 24 frames per second, I want to have my shutter speed at 1/48 in theory, or 1/50. It's close enough, right? So yeah, essentially you want to take your frame rate, you want to double it, and that's what your shutter speed should be on your camera. Now, if you're using something like a DSLR or mirrorless camera nowadays, you may need to set that manually. But on a camera like my C100 right here, I could just program in a setting and say 180 degrees. So that way, whatever I set my frame rate at, generally it's 29.97, it's automatically going to double the shutter speed for me. So I don't have to set the shutter speed every time. All I got to do is pick my frame rate, and because I have it set to 180, it'll automatically, double it, and then that's the shutter speed. So in general, yeah, you always want to try and follow that rule. Now, can you get away without using those kind of shutter speeds? Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I've heard, Peter McKinnon and Maddie and those guys talk about, like, sometimes, I just roll the shutter down. If I need to change my exposure real quick, I'll just change the shutter and keep on filming. And that's fine. Works out fine. But if you got a choice, I would, use that 180 rule, and you should be fine. But if not, hey, you do what you got to do, and the video's probably still going to be usable. So hopefully that helps answer the question. Next up, easy VFX you can do superhero landing in DaVinci Resolve 19. Why is there a faster option in the magic mask? I have never, or have I seen a tutorial where anyone uses it. I've only used it when I forgot to select the better and then realize it, and then I go select better. So yeah, magic mask, if you don't know, you have two options when you're trying to create the magic mask. You've got a faster option, and then you've got the better option. And obviously, better is better. But faster is faster. And sometimes faster works just fine. So if you don't need all the processing power, you don't want to wait for it, you got a long clip to track or something, and faster does a good job for you, it might be worth a shot, Or if you're just testing some things out, you want to see how it looks, go with faster, run it, and then, if you want to keep it, cool. If not, you change it up. But you can always try the better one. And yeah, better's going to give you better results. But depending on the complexity of your shot, maybe you only need to use faster. And that just gets the job done a little bit quicker. So, I think it's just a way that you can do things quicker when you're just trying to cruise through stuff. It's like if you want to use optical flow, but that's not the default setting, right? Because it kind of slows things down a little bit. You use nearest? Is that the standard maybe? I don't know. But it processes quicker. So in my case, I generally use better as well. I'm with you on that. So yeah, I don't know. Use better if you want to get done quicker. Try faster. All right, a question on making voiceovers in DaVinci Resolve. What is the best troubleshooting approach if DaVinci is tying the microphone into the track, but the meters don't respond to sounds from the mic when you arm it to record? A lot of things could be happening here. I know people have issues all the time with trying to record directly in a Resolve. So things to keep in mind when you're going to record in a Resolve. First thing, set up your microphone as the input in preferences, or is it project settings? Let me take a quick look here. I think it's, because I'm recording in Resolve, I can't check it right now. I think it's in one of those, right? You want to make sure that, I think it's in preferences, that your microphone is set as the input for DaVinci Resolve. Next, you want to go ahead and patch your microphone to a track. If the patch looks like it works, seems good, you should be able to jump in the track, arm it to record, and once you arm it, if you haven't changed anything, you should see the meters moving. Now, if you don't, you might want to go to the Fairlight menu, right, up at the top, and then down to, input monitor style. And that is just the way the microphone and Resolve responds to what you can hear, either before you're recording, while you're recording. It can do it automatically. So essentially, you could leave it on auto, and usually it's going to show you the meters moving before you record. You're going to hear yourself while you're recording, so you can monitor. But yeah, so you want to make sure that that's on auto. You could try the different settings there. There's input, auto, record, mute, and repo pro. You could try that and see if it works for you. And usually, I think one of those things is not checked on. If the patch and everything else looks good, that's probably why you're not getting anything in DaVinci Resolve, from your headphones. You don't see the meters moving and you don't hear yourself. You're not monitoring because one of those settings is a little out of whack. So that's where I would check first. Next question on 10 keyboard shortcuts for faster editing DaVinci Resolve. How do I do the exact same cut without cutting the audio track along with the clip I want cut? All right, so I think this is talking about a few keyboard shortcuts I had. I use my Q, W, and S keys for keyboard shortcuts to make a cut, which is S. Ripple delete to the left is Q, and ripple delete to the right is W. So it'll make a cut, ripple delete, make a cut, ripple delete. If you only wanted to do that to, say, the video part of your audio, the video part of a clip, not the audio part, you could use your auto track selectors to, have only the track selected that you want. You could use your Option or Alt key to select just the video portion of a clip. Even if they're linked, it'll allow you to select just the video or just the audio. Or you could turn tracks on and off. You could lock tracks. A lot of different ways that you can, isolate one particular track where you might want to make cuts and stuff, but you don't want to affect anything else. So those are the kind of methods I would look into for doing something like that. Next question on my go-to audio mastering plugins for DaVinci Resolve 19. So I use some Waves plugins, but they had a great question here. It said, nice video. Do these plugins, the ones I showed the video, which were Waves plugins, process audio differently compared to DaVinci Resolve's built-in audio effects, such as the limiter? So when it comes to plugins, every plugin is going to process audio a little bit differently. I think that's the whole draw to plugins, right? The way that the built-in plugins in Resolve process and do things behind the scenes is going to be different than a plugin you might download from wherever else, in this case, Waves. So yeah, they're going to work differently. They're going to do different things. They may sound a little similar at the end of the day, but they're going to work differently. That's why there's so many different plugins for audio. It's kind of like, think about LUTs, right? You've got a gazillion different LUTs out there, right? And audio plugins are kind of the same, right? You can get a plugin, it does some things under the hood in a particular way. Maybe you want to process it a certain way. Or if you're not even sure, you might just download it, try it, and you're like, okay, I kind of like that. And generally, they're going to have some presets in there and stuff, and it's going to give you a great starting point to kind of tweak things from there. Or if it sounds good, you just leave it on the preset that comes, with any of the audio plugins there. So yeah, they're going to sound different. They're going to work different than the built-in plugins in DaVinci Resolve. Does that mean they're better? Not necessarily. Depends on what you want it to sound like, what you're trying to accomplish. In general, I've found, some plugins are good, some plugins aren't, some I don't know how to work well, some I do. You just got to try them and see what the result is and if it accomplishes whatever you want to accomplish. So yeah, they're going to sound different. They work different, but you're big picture-wise, you're still accomplishing the same kinds of things. Next question on Game Changer automatically sync power bins and more in DaVinci Resolve. So I made a video recently now in, I think it's as of 19.1, one of the 19s. You can have your power bins as well as your regular bins automatically sync up between your hard drive file and the bin in DaVinci Resolve. It's just automatically going to pop in new files. When you add something to your files on your hard drive, it's automatically going to pop it right up into DaVinci Resolve, which is a huge time saver for me. It says, the question is, does it work with pictures, graphics, and JPEGs? And from my tests, no, it doesn't work with images so far, which I don't know why it wouldn't. I mean, it works with video clips, any kind of video clip, any kind of audio clip. I've had no problems with different formats of videos and audio. I don't know why it wouldn't work with pictures and images too, but I'm sure that's coming. They got to be adding that in there, right? So doesn't work yet, but hopefully it will here soon. But great feature that got added, because if, for example, with my power bins, I have music and sound effects power bins, and I add them on my hard drive, but then I always had to drag them from the hard drive, drop them in the power bin, make sure I synced it all up. But now I can just have Resolve automatically do that. So I'll just put everything, my new music files, for example, into the folder that's on my hard drive. It'll automatically show up in my power bin in DaVinci Resolve. So loving that. I've been wanting that for quite a while, and I didn't even know that was there until I stumbled on it the other last week or the week before, whenever I put out that video, because I was like, dude, got to make a video about this. So, all right, last question we have here is on DaVinci Resolve EQ Crash Course. Thanks, mate. But how can I increase bass for just a short moment? Now, let's say you're listening to some song, and at a particular point in the song, you want more bass. You want that thumping bass or whatever, right? So you can boost your EQ, and that's how you're going to get more bass out of it, but you don't want it to be like that the entire time. So how do we do that? That's where you would use something like automation, right? We would have our automation turned on. We can listen to our playback, and then at the point in our song where we want it to have more bass, we could just grab that point in our EQ and boost it up. And then when we want it to go away, grab that point and bring it back down. And Resolve, when using automation, is going to record those changes that you make over time, and it's going to automate and automatically do those changes for you. So you can't keyframe the EQ like typical keyframing, for some of your basic audio parameters like volume and pan, or like you would keyframe a video. But this process is the same. It does the same thing, but it's just called automation, right? A little bit different way to do it. It's a little bit more complicated, I would say, than regular keyframing, but I've got a video on it. I can show you, how to do it. It's not that hard once you kind of understand the concept of how it works and what you got to do. So automation is the way to go for something like that. There are other workarounds that might not work as good, like you could drop that portion of your music into another track and then, change the EQ on that particular track and, maybe do something like that. But the automation is going to give you the best result, right? Because it's going to be exactly what you want. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's overall, it's not too bad. So that wraps up all the questions that I have for this DaVinci Resolve podcast. If you want to ask questions and have me answer them here on the podcast, I don't know, post it on my channel somewhere, hashtag it, DaVinci Resolve Podcast. And I'm going to try and, keep this going in the new year. Maybe I'll try and do like at least one a month. I know sometimes I forget about doing the podcast, but it's fun. I enjoy doing it. It's a way I can just explain things a little bit more in detail for you guys. It's fun. I think it's just another way that I can help you guys out there and help out the community, answering Resolve questions. So we're coming up to the end of 2024 here. It's been a good year here on the channel. I appreciate all of you guys. I hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. Hope you have an awesome time with it. Get some time in with some family and friends. And We'll be back at it again here in 2025, continuing to move forward here with the channel. If you guys want to join the channel, I actually started channel memberships. A couple different tiers of it. I figured, there's some people who just, want a little more. So I've got a couple different tiers of channel memberships. I'll link it below. You can check that out. You get some cool icons, little DaVinci Resolve logos as your icon, and some other cool stuff. Some of the badges for like Fairlight and the edit page, color page, that kind of stuff. So if you're looking to get a little more, help support the channel a little bit, get some more out of the channel, maybe it's something you want to check out. If not, that's cool, no worries. And if you want to learn some more audio coming into the new year here, you really want to up your audio game, got an audio crash course, Audio Essentials for video editors in DaVinci Resolve. Worked real hard on it, and I think it's a great course. I've gotten great feedback from everybody who's taken it so far. So if you're looking to learn some audio, great place to get started there. All your audio info in one spot. All right. Well, with that said, thank you guys so much for an awesome year here. Thank you so much for tuning in, checking out the podcast here. And if there's anything you want to see, be sure to let me know. Drop a comment somewhere and just, let me know what you're looking for. And with that said, you guys have an awesome rest of the year, and I will see you in the next podcast. Peace.